Hello and welcome to the Respite Care Virtual Luncheon. My name is Lauren Wynot and I'm the Development Director at Respite Care. Today, we will be sharing stories with you that highlight the impact and purpose of our mission. We are so grateful to have so many people tuning in today. Before we begin, we'd like to thank our generous marketing sponsor, Lightsource Creative, for creating our graphics and theme for this event. Thanks also to Listo Pictures for filming today's video and program. This event would not be possible without our virtual table hosts, our volunteers, families, and our kiddos. Thank you so much to our speakers, our sustainable funding team, and our Respite Care Board of Directors. We are grateful to each and every viewer today for helping Respite Care create a world of inclusion and kindness. And now for a word from our Executive Director, Anne Massey.
Hello. I am Anne Massey, the Executive Director at Respite Care, and I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. Earlier this year, I was at Respite Care when one of our children was experiencing a seizure, which is not an isolated occurrence. I hurried to the room to see if the staff needed any help. I observed as one staff referred to the child-specific seizure protocol, another was timing the seizure, and a third was verbally comforting the child. Other child care specialists were moving other kids to different rooms. It was a scary situation, but the staff responded like clockwork. They were calm, quick thinking, and level-headed. They were aware of the child's medical history and knew exactly what to do. Within a few minutes, the seizure was over. Parents were called and reassured by staff that their child was okay. After a little rest, the child was excited to return to his group in the art room. I couldn't help but be proud. Who else offers staff-to-child ratios that accommodate for medical emergencies? What other child care facility has staff trained to react to a seizure in a knowledgeable and professional way? What would parents do if they couldn't count on Respite Care? I am proud that Respite Care is a place that offers families a break from the often exhausting responsibility of taking care of children with developmental disabilities. Since 1982, Respite Care has been here, providing specialized care for children and teens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On March 13th, 2 long months ago, the board of directors and I made the decision to temporarily shut Respite Care down due to the presence of the COVID-19 in our community. How could we take away this service that families are so desperately in need of, with no clear answer to the question, when will we be able to come back? It was the most difficult decision I have made in my 23 years at Respite Care. It was the right decision, and yet it affected me to my core. Recently, I mentioned to one of our team members that we would get through this, and she replied, "We are getting through this, and we are. No matter what, we are still the same Respite Care." We're the same Respite Care that served more than 150 families last year in Larimer County. Last year, our team was able to take 10 children out into the community each day during our summer day camp, providing them with experiences they may not otherwise have had without Respite Care. Last year, we also provided more than 50,000 hours of care. That's 50,000 hours of peace of mind for families, knowing that their children are in the most caring, competent hands possible. Even during our temporary shutdown, our team made sure we were keeping in contact with our kids and families. And let me tell you, virtual prom, show and tell, and dance parties are the very best kind of Zoom meetings. Thank you to our Respite Giving Society and all who have helped to make this possible. All that said, we know that things have changed and we need to adapt. Respite Care will continue to offer opportunities for families. Over the last month, I have spoken to many of them. There was a common theme. With our kids out of school, many parents are simultaneously trying to work from home or navigate other challenging situations while being a 24/7 caregiver. The appreciation of Respite Care during normal times was mentioned to me over and over again. We know that for many of our families, there is heightened need for Respite Care right now. We will continue to offer peace of mind. We will provide a place where families can count on their children being safe and engaged. And in order to do that, we will need to offer additional training for staff, increase our typical staff-to-child ratio, and utilize our building in new and creative ways. And no matter what the rest of 2020 brings, we need to make sure the core purpose of Respite Care is protected. We need to make sure we can raise the support to make this happen. I'm proud to let you know that on April 27th, Respite Care reopened our doors. And though, yes, we are the same Respite Care, like all of you, we have needed to make changes. We reopened with limited childcare slots each day so that we can be safely, physically distanced. We are not back to 24/7 care yet, but we are confident we will be in time. Though our summer programming, including day camp and wilderness camp, won't be able to happen in a usual way, our team is hard at work creating new ways to provide enrichment activities for our kids. For now, we have to do things a little differently, but we know this is temporary. Even when things change, we are the same Respite Care. When families need a break or are ready to go back to work, they can count on us to being there for them. And we're confident of this because we know our incredible community will be there for us, just like they have been for 38 years. I am filled with pride for our team in much the same way I was when I witnessed them respond to the child having a seizure. In the face of rapid change and uncertainty, they have been flexible, dedicated, and loyal. I have the same pride watching our community respond. Having lived here my entire life, I have never been more impressed than now by the positive impact of our community coming together at a time of need. And while Respite Care is working to create ways to operate in this new world, I know we are not alone. I would now like to introduce Creating Our Own World, a video created by Listo Pictures.
Todd Hustis. This is my wife, Stephanie Hustis. We're Naomi's and Sarah's parents. Naomi is 15, Sarah is 11, and both of our girls here have Down syndrome. My first wife and I had 4 kids. Stephanie and her first husband had 7 and 1 adoption. I lost my first wife to cancer. She lost her husband to cancer. So the day we got married, we had 12 kids. And then Sarah is the only biological child between the two of us.
When I was pregnant with Naomi, all of her ultrasounds showed a normal baby. When she was born, being the 8th child that we had, I looked at her face. She had the little epicanthal folds in her eyes. She had the simian crease in her hands. To be honest, I was heartbroken for her. When Sarah was born, we did the ultrasounds and things, but Sarah's nuchal fold was positive for Down syndrome.
She was 4 pounds, 10 ounces. She had holes in her heart. We're worried that she wouldn't make it through the night. She spent the first 5 weeks of her life in the NICU. And at 6 months old, she had open heart surgery.
There was a lot of fear initially.
I'm Lauren. My son is Will. He's 10. Will is nonverbal, but he's really good at nonverbal communication. He's had developmental delays since he was 10 months. He was diagnosed with like autism, epilepsy when he was littler, and he was like 1 as soon as I knew things weren't quite developing normally for him. When Will was diagnosed finally with something when he was 6, it's called a whole exome sequencing through genetics. It's called SYNGAP1. It's a newly discovered syndrome. Right now, there's like 500 kids diagnosed in the world. It's really rare. Not being able to talk, like he was aggressive and scratching and biting and screaming. It was all day. We would have a hard time having people that would stay and be able to handle him, and I was never that comfortable leaving him alone with them. It was really hard when he was little. I have another son. He's 12. Colin was there dealing with it just as much as I was. Colin was coming with me to all of Will's appointments, and I never got any time with Colin. I was working from home. I was working at night. It was me and the boys all day long, and I didn't have help, and I could have asked for help, but it was hard.
I was a full-time mom. I decided that I was going to go back to school and become a nurse, and realized we were going to need some type of care provider specifically for Sarah and Naomi. My clinicals were sometimes 12-hour shifts, and his work would go until 4:30, 5 o'clock. My older kids that are in high school are doing sports full-time. They're not available. The rest of our adult kids all work. We don't have anybody available to just pick them up. How to make sure that both Sarah and Naomi were taken care of and stayed safe was we utilized respite care.
I heard about respite care through another mom who was at speech therapy. We went to the orientation and it was like, that was it. That was the place for Will. It gives him a chance to do something different and more independently, away from family. The very first reason I started was so I could spend more time with my older son. He gets to also have a break from a lot of the daily things of having a special needs brother. Having people who know kind of what we're going through, just like being accepted and understood, not judged for the way we do things, is a big deal.
Hi, my name is Soren, and I'm a child care specialist here at Respite Care. When I was growing up, my mom was the special education teacher at Oland Elementary School. I was always in my mom's classroom and interacting with those students, and one of my absolute best friends in this world, his name is Corey Breslin, and he has Down syndrome, and we've been best friends since the first grade. My whole life growing up, I remember being enriched in the whole culture. I was looking for a job in high school, and with my mom's experience in special ed and growing up around it, it seemed like a perfect fit for me. We're very, very lucky that we have an organization like Respite Care in our community, because organizations like Respite Care are incredibly rare throughout the country. Organizations that provide overnight care and that are on a sliding fee scale are very, very rare to come by. Respite gives to families is the face-to-face contact with peers and staff in a safe and helpful and nurturing environment is something that's absolutely irreplaceable. Those staff have trainings in seizure management, medication administration, working with behaviors. You have staff that know how to listen and know how to meet your needs and how to understand your behaviors. It's a way that these kids are being heard in ways that they won't anywhere else.
Respite Care to Sarah and Naomi is halfway between a second school and a second home. They have people here who love them, they have activities, they have friends. Their friendships are very important. There was a young man here that hadn't spoken, and Naomi is one of his friends, and she was encouraging him, and one day here he spoke, and that was a victory for Naomi. She got to help him to see the joy in her heart that she had this accomplishment, that she could help somebody here at Respite. Without Respite, that wouldn't have happened. And I couldn't ask for something that makes me more proud of them for their accomplishments.
A lot of time when Will comes home from Respite, he'll get with me on his talker, which he normally doesn't do. He is a little more into himself, and we'll kind of go through a loop of his obsessions. I'll say, Will, what did you do at Respite today? He's like, I play ball. I laughed. I've heard him say that before. I feel happy. He says that a lot. The fact that it's memorable to him when he comes home from Respite Care says a lot. It's enriched Will's life so much that I think without it, he probably wouldn't be the same, honestly.
This is not a place where they babysit kids. This is a place where children are developed, they're educated, they're grown, and the value of Respite Care is amazing for the quality and the type of care that many parents couldn't get anywhere else. And that to us has been a huge blessing.
It takes more than just mom and dad to really take care of special needs kids. To be a part of the Respite family means that the Respite family is a part of my family. We know we have a resource that we can depend on for our girls to be cared for, loved on, and kept safe. That gives me a whole lot of peace of mind because we are a part of that family.
Hello, my name is Nicole Rosendale, and I'm mom to two blessings, Daniel, who is 5, and Adley, who is 8. There is something truly special and sometimes unexplainable about little boys, and Danny is no exception. We knew that Danny's delays were not simply him being behind. Danny was unable to sit up, his growth was minimal, and he wasn't meeting milestones. At 20 months, Danny was diagnosed with ATRX syndrome. At the time of his diagnosis, there were fewer than 500 boys worldwide with this genetic mutation. So much was unknown with this particular diagnosis, as there are varying degrees of severity. We soon learned that Danny also had an 18-millimeter hole in his heart, vision and hearing delays, and reactive airway disease. He's collected more specialists than most families combined. It is serendipitous the theme of this event is creating our own world, as we became a part of the Respite family at a time when I was starting over and creating mine. At the beginning of 2018, after a divorce, I found myself as a single parent with a full-time career. I needed support. I was residing in Weld County at the time, and respite services were not accessible to us there. I made the choice to return to Larimer County, where I grew up, in hopes that Danny could attend respite care, as traditional daycare services would not be suitable for him. In no time, he was a regular there. Not only does respite provide the care he needs, but they make our family's life easier. They allow his therapist to visit while he is there so he can receive his therapy. This is a huge relief, as we do not have to find already scarce time for him to have these visits in our home. Even more so, it provides continuity between respite care, home, and his providers with what Danny's working on in therapy. The ability for Danny to work on these skills, like using his communication device in a comfortable, non-clinical setting, has had a huge impact on his progress. The bond that is solidified between Danny, the staff, volunteers, his peers, and even other parents is remarkable and so heartwarming to watch. However, this past year has really shown me that respite care is nothing short of an extension of our family. Last year, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. With an aggressive treatment plan, I knew that our world was going to look very different for the foreseeable future. The respite staff came together to support not only Danny and myself, but they cheered me on every step of the way. They provided comfort for Danny when I'm sure he was unsure of what was happening, and allowed me not to have to worry about so many things so I could focus on treatment. When I had surgery in December and wasn't able to lift or carry Danny, they were there to be my arms. When I was too tired or felt sick from chemo, they allowed me to stay home and rest. And when I felt overwhelmed or discouraged, every single one of them was there with a hug, a prayer, and more encouraging words than I could ever imagine. Respite care is the gift with which our family has been given so many opportunities. Adley and I have grown and learned right along with Danny thanks to respite. They've taught us so many priceless lessons about community and what it means to be a part of this community specifically. Last summer, Adley even asked me if she could volunteer at Respite. Together with Respite, we have seen great progress, felt deep love, and said some hard and even unimaginable goodbyes. But we've done all these things together as a family. I can say that dropping off or picking up Danny at Respite are some of the best parts of my day. Raising a special needs kiddo isn't for the faint of heart. There are so many unknowns through our journey that we have a deeper value for the things and the people that we can count on, and Respite gives our family that comfort. The saying, "It takes a village," is an understatement, and I couldn't be more grateful that Respite is a part of our village.
My name is Olivia Citrinovich. I'm a mother of 3 kids who are young enough that they still crave my constant care and time. But my days of caretaking and nurturing started way before I became a mother. You see, I grew up with a profoundly autistic older brother, Roger, who required full-time, very vigilant care. I also have a twin brother, David. The 3 of us were raised by 2 full-time working parents. I knew from a very young age that my brother Roger didn't know how to articulate or meet his basic needs. I knew that he couldn't be held responsible for his moods and outbursts, and most importantly, I knew that Roger did not know how to keep himself safe. My brother either didn't have or didn't listen to that voice in his head that most of us have, the one that would warn him away from open flames, from busy intersections, and from hazardous household chemicals. My parents relied on my twin brother and I more than most parents rely on their children to help take care of Roger. We were Roger's voice, his interpreters, his round-the-clock caregivers, his protectors, his advocates. Each of us had a role to play, a job to do, and we were all self-taught, trial and error, autism experts. We grew up in a time when autism just wasn't well known, it wasn't well understood, and there weren't many supports available. We most certainly did not have a respite care. This meant that we very rarely went to restaurants as a family. Family vacations and outings were just too difficult with Roger. Frankly, they were too difficult for him. This also meant I had a very small circle of friends I felt comfortable inviting over, and why I usually asked if I could go to their homes instead. This meant that while I loved Roger fiercely, I did not often daydream about being a mother myself someday. And when I did, these fears were often clouded with thoughts of having my own child with autism. Fast forward to me as a mother. My husband David and I have 3 children, Oscar, who's 12, Otto, who's 11, and Ivy, who is 6. Otto was born in 2009 and 2 years later was diagnosed with autism. Otto is severely autistic and reminds me so much of Roger, who passed away almost 13 years ago at the age of 32, that I find myself accidentally calling Otto Roger from time to time. I feel like I spent my whole life training to become Otto's mom, becoming the person who could be loud enough, strong enough, resourceful enough, and unlike my childhood, I have respite care. It was 2018 when we'd moved here from Kansas City, specifically in search of better services and a better quality of life for Otto and for our whole family, and we found respite. I cried during our tour. I would interrupt with, "But he doesn't toilet independently. He has self-injurious behavior. He'll run off if he's left for a second." And Bree, the child care manager, she didn't flinch. She nodded knowingly and explained the procedures and protocols that Respite had in place for kids like Otto. Deep down, I wanted to believe her, but I told myself this place was just way too good to be true. But no, we left our tour that day, me holding a wad of used up Kleenexes, our intake paperwork, and the knowledge that Otto would start at Respite Care later that month. And you know, he's been a fixture here ever since. He spends each day after school, weekend afternoons, and even 2 overnights a month. It has created a world of new possibilities for our family. Because of Respite Care, our other children get time with us and time to themselves when it isn't all about Otto. Because of Respite Care, my husband and I are able to work full-time. We're also able to attend Oscar's and Ivy's school functions as a couple and even go to a restaurant afterwards. We always pick a loud, chaotic restaurant that Otto wouldn't enjoy anyway. Because of Respite Care, we know that Otto is safe, loved, and in a structured environment that he enjoys. Because of Respite Care, we are living the kind of life I wish had been possible for my parents, my siblings, and myself growing up. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole and Olivia, for sharing your powerful stories. Hi, my name is Chris Kay, and about 25 years ago, my wife Marcy and I were introduced to Respite Care by a wonderful family who had a daughter with a severe developmental disability. They introduced us to Respite Care and told us that Respite Care enabled them to spend quality time with their other children, and even have an occasional date night. Their story inspired Marcy and I to become volunteers at Respite Care and become members of the Respite Care Giving Society. But the thing that inspires me the most is that every December, I get to put on my red velvet suit and show up with Christmas presents in tow. And I get to see the joy and the excitement on the faces of the Pebbles, the youngest kiddos at Respite Care. But I get the greatest gift because I get to see the excitement and the joy and the gratitude from each one of them. And my spirit is renewed knowing that we live in a community that has the heart and the commitment to embrace these extraordinary kids and their truly extraordinary families. It is therefore my privilege to ask you for your support for the ongoing work of Respite Care. It takes $1.8 million annually to keep our doors open. More than 80% of that funding comes from contributions and special events, and you have the chance today at this special event to be a part of supporting this valuable resource for our families. As you consider how you may play a role in helping Respite Care create a world of kindness and inclusion, please note that your contribution to Respite Care qualifies for the 50% Colorado Child Care Contribution Tax Credit. This example provided by Toby Clary, CPA, illustrates how this tax credit, combined with state and federal deductions, can significantly reduce your out-of-pocket cost for your contribution and enables your contribution to provide the maximum impact for Respite Care families. Today, we hope to grow our Respite Care Giving Society. I'm sure many of our current Giving Society members are tuning in, and thank you for your commitment to support this important work. We know that children like Danny and Otto will still need Respite Care to be here 5 years from now and beyond. I invite you to join me as a member of the Giving Society to help make sure that Respite Care is here for families now and far into the future. To further inspire you, I'm thrilled to announce a leadership gift totaling $90,000 to kick off today's donations and pledges. This generous group has collaborated for years to support Respite Care. To each of you, thank you for leading our efforts today to raise this critical funding to support our mission. If you scroll down below this video, you will see an opportunity to give. The first option is to join the Respite Care Giving Society with a 5-year pledge of $1,000 or more. Your contribution will go toward unrestricted operating funds, but here are some examples of what each gift will provide. The gift of rest is a gift of $1,000 per year, or about $83 a month. And with this pledge, Respite Care can provide nearly 60 hours of child care credit. The gift of Rejuvenation is a pledge of $5,000 per year, and this pledge goes a long way in helping Respite Care provide the staffing and training for child care specialists. And finally, the gift of Renewal is a pledge of $10,000 per year. A gift at this level would help Respite Care sustain our mission in this uncertain time. Joining the Respite Care Giving Society is just one way to make a tremendous impact. However, every single gift of any size helps Respite Care continue helping our families. In the next section of the form, you will see options to make a multi-year pledge in another amount or a one-time gift of any amount that you choose. Let us know if you have ideas for us, and one of our staff members will be happy to contact you. If you've been inspired by what you've heard today, please share this program with others. This video and this donation form will be available at perennialevent.org through the end of May. We truly appreciate any help that you can provide. And on behalf of everyone at Respite Care, including the families we serve every day, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for learning, and thank you for helping Respite Care create a world of inclusion and kindness.